Welcome to WO50 Women Over 50 Embody Wisdom and Wellness.
Oh, I think we do. My name is Corinne, and I'm here with my BFF, Eddie. And today our topic is redirect the eye and notice the good.
There.
Notice what's alive and true.
What is alive and true?
Where's your focus?
What feels better? What feels better? Being positive, negative, seeing
seeing things as it is.
Yeah.
Right? Because, it's not even being positive or negative, is seeing things as it truly is.
It's true. That's true. Yeah. Yes, we discussed all that. Corinne keeps correcting me on my little
vernacular stuff.
just massaging it. That's what we do. Just massage the words, change them around. It's all perspective.
We all have different seats on the stadium, and we have a choice of what we decide to look at. And it's not about being Miss Positive all the time. It's nothing to do with it, or it's not about being or not liking a negative person. It's about noticing that you have complete control of what you decide to focus on.
That's right. Enjoy. Hello.
Hi. We always chat sometimes we chat for a few minutes before we actually press record, and sometimes we chat for like an hour. Today it was just a few minutes, and so
we were pretty quick today.
Yeah, pretty quick. And so what have you been doing today?
I've been working in my office, and then it's so beautiful here today. I couldn't believe it. It went from 4 degrees yesterday to 16 today, which is 60 for you, Fahrenheit. And went for a nice long hike. After I got off work, it was beautiful, and put some seed in my hand as I was walking. This young guy was standing there, and he said, I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I'm feeding the birds. I'm like, they're coming to your hand? So he goes, yeah, I do this all the time. So he handed me some seed, and I put it right at the tips of my fingers like that. And these little tiny birds, they just were coming down, and it was the wildest feeling. And their little claws just kind of wrapped around my finger, and like they were holding on, and they ate the seed from my hand.
That's so cute. What kind of birds were they?
Wild birds. They were like little, chickadees. They were so cute, like yellow, and I don't know. I'm going to have to identify him. And then I had Strat do it, and he's like, this is great. This is fun. So
now you're going to get seeds to bring to the birds now when you go hiking.
I always do feed the birds, throw out a few seeds. But this time, I'm going to bring the grandkids and try it with them, see if they can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And where is this at?
This is the walk that we do around Long Pond. So it's beautiful. We leave our house, and then we do this, it's about 5 kilometers, and it's through the woods, and there's a trail, and almost all the ice is gone from the trail, and it's great. Yeah, beautiful today. How about you? You've been in your garden.
Yes, I was out. Well, it's not in the garden. It's kind of is. It's in the yard, I would say. So yeah, gardening season starts for us in like February, March, when we are, I'm prepping the soil right now. And then also I'm working on covering, the backyard where the old fireplace is, where we park and stuff. So that I'm putting down a couple layers of cardboard boxes, and then we're going to get chips dumped back there. And that's going to be all soil eventually in gardens, and I'm going to have pathways like an English garden area. And so I started the cardboard box thing today, and so very, very excited about that.
That's excellent. You're covering up all the weeds, or are you redirecting your eye to the flowers?
That is our topic today. Redirect the eye. Notice the good.
Yeah.
What came to me, I mean, there's so many ways to talk about this, and, and ways to talk about it where you're being alive and true to what's arising too, because sometimes there is things that are arising in the present moment that aren't, you don't want to redirect from.
Yes.
So we'll talk about the difference between that. And then I liked it when we were in India. That was, I think, a great example.
As soon as we were talking this, it was that. It was like that was 2017, and that's the biggest story was that going there, and
one person.
You were like, you were saying, well, you had a big group, but you were like a little nervous about me being there because I do like my pillow and comforts and things like that.
And you
But
don't like bugs.
I don't like bugs and being too hot and you have all that in India. Like it's
Yeah.
an assault to the senses.
Yeah.
And I think I impressed you because
You did.
on the in the bus or the wagon we were
Yeah.
in, one of the gals who had just arrived was sitting there, and all she kept commenting on is all the negative, all the, the
The
garbage
garbage.
or
Yeah.
the little ones that seem so poor and hungry and I
Dirty
just
faces and
dirty
yeah.
faces. And I was like, okay, you have to stop. You got to stop it because that's all you're going to see. If that's where you're looking, why don't you look at the yellow sari or the beautiful women or the beautiful children? And, it was just like your eye could go to something really negative or really positive
Mm-hmm.
in seconds, split seconds,
Mm-hmm.
your choice. Like you
Yeah.
think you want to see something dirty, you're going to see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Icky, stinky, whatever. The smell, same thing. You can smell cow shit or jasmine,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
All at the same time.
All at the same time. And
Yeah.
it was like for me too, like with all the sensitivities and things, I just kept kind of, I don't know if it was compartmentalizing it, or I was like, I mean, yeah, I had some experiences there that were like, whoa, but from those challenges was growth. Yes, mucho growth.
No, you did absolutely amazing. You did phenomenal. And not every, I mean, most people, when they decide to come to India, they are prepped and ready, but typically people will go through some sort of hardship or a bad day or two where they're not able to have the resilience. It's all part of the experience, right?
Mhm.
But you really embraced all of the experience, all of it. You just were in awe and soaking it all up. And it was so beautiful to see you doing that.
Oh,
And
it was such a beautiful experience. I was so thankful you were there, and for this, the group was special. And I
yeah.
mean, there were challenges like anytime you go anywhere. But India is really good for teaching that, don't you think? The
Oh,
perspective, the
yeah.
redirecting of the eye, not only
Yeah.
from your eye to your eye
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah, well, what with so many years going to India, I feel like one of the things for me is like we're so comfortable, and I've mentioned on the podcast many times, it's like we're so comfortable here in the West. We have the perfect temperature, our cars and our houses, and and our clothing if it's not the right temperature, and the food we can get from anywhere in the world, and we're just really sort of addicted to comfort, and we have an
Mhm.
aversion to discomfort. And that's kind of a natural biological thing to a point, but it's
Mhm.
so excessive in North America and in the
Yeah.
West that when we do have a hard time when we travel or a hard day or whatever, it's like the resilience, discomfort muscle isn't there. And so
Mhm.
that's what I feel for me, India. One of the many things India did for me is like I was so uncomfortable, most especially the first 5, 6, 7 years I was there, going there. I was like been going there 25 years. And the first, while I was younger, but yeah, it was hard. And I love now what a resilient traveler I am and what I'm just yeah, and I've had times in India where I haven't been resilient and I notice the difference.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I notice the difference. And so we all have people in our lives. You can think of a person as we're talking right now, or even just when they've had a day or you've had a day where somebody walks in and they're just noticing everything negative,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it gets under your skin a little bit, but it's their experience, and then you try to redirect, the conversation or whatever. But we all have people, and then we all have people that are the opposite, that no matter what the situation, they're always looking at the good side. And so,
Mhm.
and then there's the other thing, I'm sure there's many others, but one of the things is that it's not like we're being happy all the time, even when there's things that are rising that aren't happy and aren't comfortable. We're not saying, let's be positive all the time. We're not saying that. We're just
No.
saying when we're in situations in life where we can look at, it's kind of like, or even when something comes up with me, it's like, say, with a friend or, whatever it is that can come up on a daily basis. It's like, I my attitude now is that life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And that's how every situation is like that, no matter how difficult it is. So I'm not like fighting life like many people do, or maybe like I did when I was younger.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like people will say, "Why is this happening to me? It's just happening."
Yeah, I mean, the why is that I'm not into why anymore. It's like, why is a question of pain and why is a big fat fairy tale because we never know why,
Hmm.
ever.
Yep. And we talked about that on one of our talks about the mystery,
Yes.
being okay with the not knowing, what the
Mm-hmm.
why. The why.
Mm-hmm.
Why this? Why is the sky blue? And well, some of the things we can figure out, but
Yeah, but we don't,
science and all
yeah,
that.
if we don't have
But
Google or something to figure out why the sky is blue.
yeah, or
Mm-hmm.
AI or any of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or WO50 podcast where we
Mm-hmm.
will search it for you, know what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just reframing. It's just perspectives. And every day there's something comes into, I know my life, unless I'm, on vacation somewhere or in a cave or, in the woods. But there's definitely something that comes in where, a call to a friend to kind of talk it out. Like if I need something, I'll call you and talk it out and I'll go, yeah, I need to sit with this for a little bit. I need to shift my perspective. Like Maya Angelou says, what is it? If you can't change it or it can't change itself, then you change your attitude.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's
you
the
know,
serenity prayer,
yeah, yeah.
is really what it is because, and there has to be a distinction though, because a lot of this stuff can be misinterpreted and misrepresented. And so that's
Hmm.
why I want to try to be clear about it because it's not like, we're, like I said, being happy all the time. You feel things as they come in. And then instead of creating a yarn about it, writing a story about what's come in, the incident happens one time. Say you get cut off on the street, you're turning a corner and somebody cuts you off, right? And they didn't see you. And I have no problem going, oh God, that guy's paid no attention. Eddie doesn't react at all. But then it's gone. Like, and Eddie sometimes when me or I think her honey sometimes will do that and she'll be like in shock still that somebody's made a statement. Then I'm done. I'm on with it afterwards. Like I'm, sort of that. And it's just an easy
Yeah,
example of what we can
yeah.
do. But then I'm not going home and talking about it or talking about it all the
Yes.
way to the grocery stores like that person that cut me off. It's like it's one and
Yep.
done, you
Yes. Yeah,
know?
you're not going home sharing it and then it's getting bigger. You're sharing it with somebody else and then they're going to add to it. Oh yeah, was
Mm-hmm.
it a blue car? Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I think they cut me off yesterday. We should go
Yeah.
get in the car now and look for them. It's like,
Yeah, and you'll start talking about all the people that have cut you off and that are bad drivers. And then you get into all the bad drivers in Nashville and nobody signals and blah, blah, blah. And, I would just much rather have, I don't know, just a different conversation and more, just a real conversation than talking about things that aren't real,
and I
or you're
think that's
holding
what
on.
starts that's I think that's what starts to happen as we get older. Sorry, I didn't
Well,
mean to
not
cut over you.
necessarily. No, no, not necessarily as we get older, as we've said before. Like I certainly know, older people that don't get that. I think it's one of the things that can happen, but it's to me, it happens as self-awareness because it can happen.
As
I know a lot
growth.
of young
Yeah.
people that are very self-aware that don't do that.
Mm.
Yeah, actually, my niece and nephew, of course, my sister raised them, so they're pretty amazing. But yeah, they don't hold on to stuff at all.
That's great. It's a
Yeah,
good way to be. It's a good way to be.
yeah. So
Yeah.
when do you have challenges? I feel like I have challenges when there's an emotion attached to it, like when there's, like driving, not such a big deal, although some people are affected by driving, but when there's an emotion attached to it, like say, I don't know, say somebody doesn't want to do coaching with me anymore. And so I either have a choice. This is a little bit different than redirecting the eye. This is more of a choice. Is there something, am I stung by it?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just okay? So that's cool. I've kind of felt that we were going in different directions anyway. So just kind of feeling into, is there a sting? So I'm looking directly at it. I'm directing the eye directly at it. And then if there is a sting, it's like, okay, what's my piece in it? Or if there isn't a sting, it's like, okay, then that's fine. That's what's meant to be and move on to the next moment. That was just kind of came up just as trying to, come up with something that, can sting us. Because it's sometimes I think examples are good. In the India example is a very good
And
one.
it's a really good one because it's clear, but it's I don't know. For me, sometimes I find family can be challenging,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to, with my crowd and history, it's more not being in the defensive mode. And so it's changing perspective, kind of reframing what's going on to, I don't know, just step out of it for a minute before the emotion takes over. So that's what I'm working on more. I think it's like, I don't know if it's an awareness or there's a shift, in me, it's more of a growth. And so, it's the redirecting the I piece. I keep working on. We're all connected. So I, the I,
The big eye or the little eye?
the big I, I am feeling this, and then I'm going. That's my perspective. It's so if I can sit back and go and just jump on that other bird's eye view, like I had the little bird on my hand today,
Mm-hmm.
if I could just go, it's like how quick we can redirect to that, right? I'm just like thinking
Mm-hmm.
about my stuff. And then next, I'm looking down at my hand and I'm feeding a bird, a wild bird. And I'm going, oh, gee, the problems aren't so big anymore. It's like this, it's a big shift because, I've got some good major stuff going on right now. And um, I say good major stuff because I don't want to see it as bad major stuff.
It's just,
it's
yeah, it's just stuff. There's a lot of
it's just
intensity
stuff.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we can redirect from a thought, even on that hike, walking through, we got things going on in our head, and then there's this softening of the unexpected of even that moment of that little bird
Mm-hmm.
and how gentle and precious and trusting and right coming onto my hand, little tiny thing. I mean, I could have done shoved it in my mouth and ate it. I could have had bird sushi. Like, really? What? But he trusted, and that thought did not come
You're
into my
so,
head then.
no,
It
and
only
not
comes
then.
into my head now.
Yeah. That is so funny. Oh
I
my
think if I
gosh.
was a fox or a wolf, the bird wouldn't have landed
Yeah.
on
Yes.
their
No, no,
little
no. Yeah. It
paw.
felt
No,
safe. It felt
it feels
safe.
safe. So
Hmm.
that you got my point, don't you?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
I hope anyone listening does. Hopefully
Yeah.
they're
Oh, yeah.
laughing.
Eddie's humor. Eddie's
Mm,
humor. That's a Eddieism. I'm sure they are. That was a good one.
yes.
Yeah. So you even know, so there's an emotion attached. If there's a lot of intensity going on, like Eddie's sharing that that's happening in her life. And so on the hike, sometimes that can stick. There's
Hmm.
still might be something from the day that's sticking even on a beautiful hike. But then
Hmm.
something like the bird experience and its little
So
feet, little tiny little feet
talons,
in the,
little talons.
and then, and then all of a sudden the other stuff just falls away.
It falls away. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And then the story you get to share is not what was mulling through your head. It's that little bird that landed, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's like, "Where? Where was that? What part of the trail was that on?" Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
it starts at like, yeah, it ripples, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Where
that's
else do we
beautiful.
redirect the eye?
Um,
Several ways.
I mean, I think family's a big one, because
Hmm.
that's, your family of origin is, can be big stuff because everybody is, it's like that's where we're asked to have unconditional love because everybody's, your family of origin, all of a sudden you have all these different personalities, different perspectives. Not
Hmm.
everybody has the same, political point of view in many families.
I know.
Sometimes religious point of view is even different in families. And then approach to the world
Hmm.
is different. In fact, I finally watched Enigma, the Aaron Rodgers story on
And
Netflix. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was
yeah,
it was good. I'm glad that he's bringing it into the mainstream.
yeah.
This big football guy. is, also a meditator and stuff. And so I'm glad he brought it into the mainstream. And yeah, well, there was a
But
lot of good things about it.
but when you're watching the film, couldn't you or did you see his perspective changing, that shift happening in him
Oh
from
yeah,
that
especially,
ego, that
oh
falling
yeah,
away of ego, like from the beginning footage to how he softened and just this, because he did have an attitude, like he had ego and he had, like, I used to not like to watch him play. I knew he
yeah,
was really good, but he irritated me a little bit. And now I really like it. And not in a
yeah.
judgy way, just how, I don't know. I
Well, you
have
saw
this,
another side of him,
yeah, which
you
is really cool, which is
yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not
I
that there was
liked it that.
anything wrong before, but it's just that it was, I don't know. It's just,
Well,
I
it's
love
more one
seeing,
dimensional. Like the
yeah.
ego, like, it's like kind of one dimensional to be egotistical, sports star that just wants to win and all that stuff. And all humans are more multidimensional than just what you see,
Yeah.
And so to show, and it is a very unique path for a professional football player to
Yep.
go do psychedelics and, like to meditate and like to drum and chant and,
Yoga and get in the
all that.
water. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Then I like my favorite was at the very end when he was saying how, because all through he's like, to win the Super Bowl is the greatest thing. And then after he won the Super Bowl, he's like, okay, so was
Now
that
what?
all that I've worked my entire life? That's it?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times people do have an awakening when they do reach goals and then they are sort of like, what's it? I know there was a Madonna's manager was a friend of one of my exes, and there's a story of her in the Mediterranean in Greece way back at the height of her career, and she's
Hmm.
looking out at the Mediterranean. She goes, "Is this all there is?" Beautiful Mediterranean. She has all the money she wants, and then she started, studying the Kabbalah shortly after that. But, we
Yeah.
have to find that meaning and that purpose all within is different, and we have different seats on the stadium, right?
Hmm.
So everybody's perspective is different, and respecting that too,
Yeah.
like gosh, it's when I hang out with people, which I don't fortunately have to do much, but sometimes I have to hang out with people or just find myself in situations, whether it's at an airport or whatever, where people really truly, and actually, I guess I have one client like that, um, where she truly believes that her perspective is the
The
only
right one.
perspective, like the right one, right?
Yeah. It's like blinders.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so, and I have to be careful when dealing with people like that because I need to help them to see on their own because I can't, because if I told them that would be judgmental and
Hmm.
they have to have the aha from within. So I have to somehow direct and soften and not judge and,
Hmm.
just see. And I don't usually judge. It's just I can see, wow, they really think that's, that their
Yeah.
perspective is what it is.
Yeah. And they
And
could be viewing it from a different angle in a different way and is coming around the other side of the building to get the knowledge, or get that aha moment. Like we all have this different, um, I guess, entry point of awareness or aha moments in an everyday way of living our lives. We don't
Mhm.
we don't have to climb the highest mountain to feel the world, We don't have to get to the top of Everest and go, oh, is that all there is to it? This is
Yeah.
it? It's like I'm out of oxygen and all this, and then we get up there. But I hear it's really cool, and I've seen videos and watched films, and that's great that people want to do that. But we all have our own way of
We all have our own Everest to climb.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I had a patient today. I hadn't seen her in a while, and it was really great to reconnect because we'd done some yoga stuff and I Can Do It conferences together years ago. And she came in, she said, remember, I hired you for this event? You were the guest speaker, and I think I told you about it years ago. And I went, yeah, I remember. She goes, and your PowerPoint went down. And then I was like, yeah, I remember. I said, Corinne, I told you about this. I remember the PowerPoint went down and I did a Q&A. So I had opened up the floor. Well, she said, I haven't seen you in almost 10 years, but There is one woman that will never forget. She said, remember, she said, if I live the way you do and eat the way you do, can I look the way you do?
Yes, I remember that.
And then she came back to me and I'm like, she said, tell Dr. Eddie I have never drank another pop, another soda since she filled us in at that meeting and at that event of what was in it. And she said it totally changed, and I'm using the word now, perspective, but it totally changed my attitude towards packaged foods, processed. She said I never knew in that moment. So there's an aha moment,
Yeah,
you
and there's a
know?
redirection of her eye is now on healthier foods and not on packaged foods.
Yeah, but that
Mm-hmm.
even just changing that one element, the ripple
Mm-hmm.
effect in her body, because I went on, I remember to tell her that, you drink a lot of that. It's a lot of sugar. You're setting yourself up for diabetes if you don't already have it. And she goes, I have it. I'm like, okay. And, I wasn't kind of wheeling them in by blasting all this information. It was more, these are facts. Like we know glucose spikes. We know if we change our perspective a little bit, just slightly, like it changes so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
So many things. So we're going out of that negative lane into more of a positive lane,
Mm-hmm.
and we're changing, whether we're saying something positive when we're failing at something. Well, what am I learning from it?
Yeah.
We keep like this
Mm-hmm.
is what we want to keep doing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need to reach out to a friend to go, listen, I forgot all my tools. What's the first one
Tell
again?
me, yeah,
Begins
exactly.
with
I'm
A.
like in the middle of this right now. Tell me, just
Yeah.
say something to, yeah. And
Yeah.
that happens. I
Yeah.
mean, that happens to all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That I was just saying to somebody the other day, I wish I could remember who it was. I was like, just be tender with yourself with that. Like, just soften just your whole
Yeah.
attitude around. They were being mad at themselves. It's coming to me now. She was upset with herself for forgetting it wasn't a tool. It was some sort of something that was easy, usually in her life. And she's like, I can't believe. And I was like, it's just, it's okay.
Hmm.
It was throwing stuff out.
Oh,
So she said, because she's just finished a divorce and I'm trying to help her, or hopefully I'm helping her because she's focused all her attention on him for a year now and she needs
mhm.
to now focus on her new life. And
Change her
her
perspective.
yeah, her eye keeps directing
Redirect
to
her
what he's
eye.
doing and not, yeah, exactly. And so she's talking about cleaning out her house and what a challenge it is. And she goes, she goes, I've already been, disappointed and regretted throwing some stuff out that I was upset and I didn't have a lot of time and then I wish I had it back down. I said, okay, hold on. It's just stuff. So let's just soften. It's okay. You can buy something else. That's the thing
Yeah.
is that if you've already thrown out something and it's done, like a regret is one of the most useless emotions that there is. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes if we have regret, if we've hurt somebody, of course, that's good to reflect on and not to do it again. But about stuff,
Yeah.
it's like, it's just stuff.
It's just stuff. We're not taking it with us. It's just
Mm-mm.
stuff. We
And you
can,
can buy more stuff,
yeah,
you know?
and most people, as don't want your stuff anyway. So
Right.
even when we're collecting and collecting, and it's getting towards our later years, we're trying to get rid of stuff, pictures. Kids have their pictures on their phone. They
Yes.
got stuff tucked away. They don't want the old,
They'll
some do,
albums.
the
They
old
might want one or
albums.
two. They don't want 25 or 30 or 100.
No, they don't. And
Of your
you
great
know,
grandparents and their great grandparents. It's just, yeah.
yeah, it's like too much stuff. They don't want the collectibles. They don't want, you look at the dishes and the passing down of things. They might want a few of the things, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't want the wall cabinet of stuff.
Mm-mm.
Some do, some don't, but it's shifting and changing because I don't know, that we're changing perspectives of what's
Mm-hmm.
important. And I watch this younger generation now, and they really want work-life balance.
They
And
sure do.
we as 50, 60, 70, 80-year olds are changing perspectives even on that, of watching the kids. And you hear some older people going, boy, they got it made now, mate, they got it made.
And I'm like,
As
good for
someone
them.
from
They're
around
smarter than we are. Good for
my dear,
them.
they're taking another day off. Look, and they have another work day, and they're gone on a social ski trip. I'm like, that's wicked. Like, good, because they're not going to get compassion burnout. They're not going to question, are they effective? There's a balance, and that's
Mm-hmm.
perspective as well. And
Mm-hmm.
that's redirecting, I care about myself. It's not selfishness. You hear all the language,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if I go have a massage and I do this and this and this and this, that's not selfishness. That's
Mm-hmm.
self-care.
Mm-hmm. Big
To go
difference.
to go take care of your feet and your hands and your eyes and your hair, and you go get good food, and
Mm-hmm.
you get talk to a therapist or a life coach or a naturopath or your doc and air out some of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's getting rid of the inner stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then clearing your room when you want a good workspace, or like your friend was doing, or your client, getting the closet cleared out. Just get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love clearing out my closet. And then I
So
love
fun.
shopping with Corinne. And now
In
I've
my
gotten
closet.
like, it's funny because now, like, when we shop, it's like, no, no, I don't want that. I want it. I have like exactly in my head
Mm-hmm.
what I'm wanting. I'm not buying it till I get the exact one.
Mm. Yeah, our shopping has changed just a wee little bit.
Just a
Eddie
wee.
really had a great time, and I had a fantastic time with you shopping in my closet because I wanted to get rid
Yeah.
of stuff, and I don't like stuff sitting around and me not wearing it. And I know
Yeah.
that if I like it, I'm like, okay, don't give it away, just bring it back to me. And she's good, and she does the same thing with me. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and we shop like what's one of the things we've been doing together since we've known each other is we do love
Mhm.
shopping. But yeah, it's changed for sure
Oh, yeah.
what we oh gosh, I remember so many shopping trips when I first used to go to California, the Palm Springs. My dad first started going there, and they had the big outlet malls that I'd never seen
Oh,
before, and
yeah.
I
Yeah.
could buy things for designer stuff. And
I know.
I mean, I'd have so many things in my closet I never even wore,
Oh,
never
I
wore,
know.
and then gave to Goodwill 5 years later, and I'm
Oh,
like, can't believe it.
same.
When I tried it
Same.
on, it was like, look so cute. And now, if I buy something, you best believe I'm going to wear it.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes that's paying a little bit more for something, but it's going to last. It's like those staples, right? It's like, again, you're changing perspective. You're on, even on your clothes, you're going,
Hmm.
well, I wear that kind of blouse or those jeans or whatever, those sneakers. Yeah, no, the other ones are better. And yeah, there's so many variables when it
Hmm.
comes to our changing thought, perspective, reframing, restructuring, all the words, right? All
Hmm.
the words. There's so many. Positive affirmations. Yes, I can do it. How many times, how many sticky notes did I have around my mirror, I wonder, growing up?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And just even letting the brain hear those things, that, yeah, I'm strong, and yes, I'm aware, and yes, I am powerful, and I am woman, hear me roar. Yeah, we can we can have that dialogue going on, but we
Hmm.
have to believe it and change perspective and
And it has to
practice
be a
it.
conscious thing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get here overnight.
Yeah,
I mean, I tell people if somebody does
that's
coaching
right.
with me once a week and
Mm-hmm.
then they don't do anything, I don't have many people that do that. Mostly people, they I'm in touch with them in between and they're doing podcasts and Audible and stuff because that's what it really takes to make a shift is time and focus and attention and paying attention to where your direction your eye is going, where what is your focus, because I feel like before people sort of start doing this inner work, they they don't realize that that their thoughts are all over the place and they're like a squirrel constantly, and that
Mm-hmm.
they're run by their thoughts that are very
Oh.
much random. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's many thoughts that literally come out of nowhere, and that the only thing that's real is the eye, the one eye within that gets to choose where you direct your eye, both your physical eye
Mm-hmm.
and the inner eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this
Yeah.
before on the podcast. It's like we have many voices inside our heads, positive, negative, that, we have 85,000 thoughts in a day. That's like a couple of thoughts a second. And so, but they aren't who we are. There's the
Yeah.
one choice maker that decides what we decide to believe and what we decide to focus on.
Yeah.
And
And
that's important.
it is. And I loved that when we were working on our coursework that, for the W050, which is again changing perspective on our lives, really
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
important, what we
Embracing and
value,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All that. And one of the things I wrote down that I still do to this day, and I wrote this down years ago and then forgot it, and then it came in again. I wrote it again in our notes was
Mm-hmm.
to create your future, your ideal future, you got to spend time every day at it, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, writing down, kind of moving the ball down the field, like writing down where you're headed and where you
Mm-hmm.
want to head. And that's why, with the whole visualization and our mapping our lives and what we're going to work on towards, all the podcasts we do is encouraging for all this movement, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's that shift, it's that perspective, it's that where keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on what is it? What is the eye?
Yeah. Yeah. Notice where your eyes actually looking because there's a lot of people
Yeah.
who go throughout the day. They notice where their actual physical eyes are because they're looking at things they want to look at and they're driving or they're getting dressed or they're eating. But your mind is exactly the same. It's like there's a lot of peripheral thoughts that come in and
Mm-hmm.
you get to decide actually what you decide to focus on and believe. And to be more aware of that on a day-to-day basis of how much time and attention are you focused on the negative, how much time and attention are you actually present in the moment, how much time and attention are you focused on what somebody else is doing that you have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all. And it takes time, it takes good friends and good community to notice. It takes self-care, self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, even though I really do feel that it is very natural for us to be more present.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's become unnatural because of the way how fast paced our lives are. And because we aren't taught that that our thoughts are not who we are, from the
Yeah.
time we're little. We just think this construct we've created of all the thoughts in our head that is all true,
Yeah.
and it's not until we do some of this self-awareness work that we realize, oh, it's just like we've created this construct and it's not, and it's put
Mm-hmm.
upon us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like all this conditioning. And so then, you know, what do you pay attention to? And one of the tools that I love is what do you know for sure? What do you
Yeah.
absolutely know for sure? And kind of the only thing we know for sure is I exist right now. Like right now, all I know is I'm talking to Eddie on the
Yeah.
podcast. That's about all I know
Yeah.
on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I know what I'm going to do tonight, but I don't really know.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We have a plan.
yeah.
Then we don't have a plan. And then how silly of us to make a plan.
Very silly.
A lot of times the plan is not what happens. Life happens.
Right. Yeah, I was saying to somebody the other day, it's like we have all this mental masturbation we do, like all these negotiations in our head that are happening constantly. And then what you actually do. So I was talking to actually the same client about she's getting ready to do her stuff in the garden in the yard. And I said, listen, she's like, I just don't know where to start because there's so many things I want to do. And I said, just start, just go out into the yard. But I can tell you that a lot of the things you think about that you want to do, it doesn't end up what you end up doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so all that stuff that you've had going on in your head when the actual time comes didn't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what you actually do is the important part.
Yeah. Yeah. Even me walking that trail, I didn't plan on stopping and feeding a bird seed that some guy pulled out of his pocket. It's like, oh, thank you for sharing. It's
And see,
excellent.
if you were caught in your head and you had earphones on or something, listening, you would have totally missed that experience.
Or went, oh my God, these little birds are going to land on me, and what if they poop on my hand? Oh, well, no, none of those thoughts came in. It
Yeah.
was more, wow, this is so cool. And it reminded me of the time I did falconry school in Ireland, and
Mm-hmm.
that was an unbelievable experience. But
Mm-hmm.
you've got a huge bird coming in on your leather glove this side, and here you've got these beautiful little fragile birds. Just like it's so sweet.
Mhm.
It's a special moment. So I'm glad I got to share it with you and everybody listening.
Mhm. Mhm.
Perspective.
Perspective.
Redirecting the eye. So when
Mhm.
I had a falcon on my arm like this, my eye was not looking at its beak. My eye was looking to the right, not to the left. When I had this little bird on my hand, I'm looking directly at the little bird because it had a little tiny beak and it wouldn't have pecked the face off me. I know about a falcon, a predator on my. What that would have done, I don't know. But anyway,
Mhm.
it's all perspective.
Mhm. Yes, it is.
That's,
That's good, Eddie. That's
it's
good.
good. It's good,
We're
Kit.
all doing the best we can with what
Yes,
we
we are.
got. That's all we can do. But
Yep.
life is perspective. We all have a different seat on the stadium, and our seats are constantly moving depending on what situation that we're in. But just remember, your perspective is only yours.
Mhm.
It's not anybody else's.
That's beautiful. Thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time.